Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and we are joined by Dan Dix of Press for Truth again. And the reason why we're joined by him again is because they keep kicking him while he's down. He's been attacked multiple times at protests. First, he got assaulted some weeks ago for going to a protest against the lockdown measures. He's, called a white supremacist for that. Then he's called a white supremacist for filming a Black Lives Matter event, and then he goes to another Black Lives Matter event. He's assaulted, attacked in the streets. People are throwing things at his head. Then he's arrested. He's got faulty charges leveled against him, then dropped. Anyway, long story short, Dan has put up a GoFundMe account, which we were promoting a few days ago, only for them to shut down the GoFundMe account and refund all of the money, thousands of dollars that people voluntarily gave to him. Dan, could you go into what happened today? You opened up your email, you got some messages. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, well, exactly that, Josh. Before I got the email, I started seeing notifications popping up on my phone, email notifications saying, this donation has been refunded. This one's refunded. This one's refunded. And they started popping up like 50 a second. And I got about 100 notifications all of a sudden, and I was like, what is going on? I went to the campaign, and I saw it go from $7,000 down to $6, down to $5, down to $4, $3, $2, $1, then $500, then $0. And I realized, oh my God, they just killed the account and took all of the funds and refunded it back to the people who, as you say, graciously donated to me. These are PFT viewers who, out of the goodness of their heart, wanted to contribute to my campaign, and GoFundMe decided that I was not worthy of receiving such funds, most likely because they've received a lot of reports about the campaign, because as we know, I've been under attack for the last couple of months, really, but it's getting so bad now that they're going after me financially, and this just speaks volumes to how bad this culture war, whatever you want to call it, is brewing, to the point where they could single me out as a Nazi and a racist, and then I get arrested for it. And then when I try to raise some funds for my equipment getting smashed and my work moving forward, they take that away from me too. I mean, as if this isn't the nail in the coffin, and really kind of as you said, kicking a guy when he's down. It's brutal.
Well, and they've really, they've been going after you for a while. I mean, YouTube, demonetized you a long time ago, over a year ago now. And you've been struggling because of that. Obviously, it's hard to keep a media up and running without at least enough to live off of. And again, none of us do this for money, or else we would have found a better way to make money than making videos that are unpopular to 99% of the world. But nonetheless, I mean, you've been very consistent in your message for years. Nothing about what you say is racist, but they have raised the bar for what you call racist these days. So basically, anyone that talks about, oh, business is being shut down, people can't feed their family, racist. Well, what about, I'm in Mexico, I'm interviewing Mexicans about it. They're protesting here. You don't see the mainstream media in Canada calling them a bunch of white supremacists. It's ridiculous. And this really pisses me off, because you put all this effort into, this happened to you. You got assaulted, then you got charged with assault. You broke equipment. You lost equipment. You're trying to get people who, to back you and help you, get back on your feet. And they are basically saying to you, Dan, you cannot make money. Even if people voluntarily give you money, you cannot make money. This precedent was set when you got demonetized on YouTube as well, when they said people can't send super chats. I mean, that's not advertising. They say not appropriate for advertising, but that's not advertising. I wanted to ask you, what precedent does that set when you have companies like GoFundMe? They're basically stolen from you here. When you have these major companies that everyone goes to send money to people, they already take a huge cut. When they can say, you can't get money, you can't be sent money voluntarily. What kind of precedent does that set?
It sets a huge precedent. This essentially is tantamount to financial terrorism, where they can single out a particular individual because of their ideology or opinion or political leaning and decide to off them from the market. I mean, that's financial terrorism. And I think it's setting a very dangerous precedent. I mean, if we're to the point where these major tech conglomerates can silence people just at the flip of the switch, we saw it happen to Alex Jones, people, and they're starting to do it to more of us incrementally. Well, if they can now move that into the sphere of finance, well, we'll be completely ruined, because I mean, it's one thing to just get onto these other platforms and be able to post to BitChute and Flote and other better platforms. That's great. But what happens when the bank accounts are shut off and we can no longer buy groceries to feed our family? That's when things are going to get really, really scary. And we are now entering into that uncharted territory. And it's quite scary, Josh, to think about the precedent it's setting moving forward, because this is heading in nowhere in a good direction unless we use this opportunity to raise awareness about this, that it's happening, and hopefully the people get behind us now more than ever. You know, I would encourage that. I'm trying to set up a new crowdfunding thing. I'm looking into some Canadian companies, some people who are not going to be involved in censorship, and I'm hoping that people who donated would be willing to double down now and show these mobs that if you mess with us in this way, we're just going to come back tenfold. You know, if you want to try to defund this guy, then we're going to go ahead and fund him more than ever to put you in your place.
Yeah,
So
you got to have kind of a Barbara
needs to happen.
Streisand effect with what's happening right now. And Dan, before we get into this any further, just let people know where they can go right now. People who tried to donate to you that just got refunded today, where can they go to donate to you once again?
Well, probably the best thing to do at this point is Etransfer, and e-transfers can be sent to the email address dan@pressfortruth.ca, dan@pressfortruth.ca, or you can go to pressfortruth.ca/donate and leave a one-time donation with PayPal. That's another good way to do it. PayPal's not a great company either and may start censoring me soon as well. And you can also do Bitcoin. Maybe you can put up the QRL on the screen here for the viewers. I'll send it to you. But Bitcoin's another good way to do it. But e-transfers goes direct without any kind of third companies taking a percentage or anything like that. So I would say send an e-transfer to dan@pressfortruth.ca.
And that's mostly for you know, people that are Canadian too, because in the United States you can't really send e-transfers with many banks, which is an issue. I've found that out as a Canadian living in the US for some time. People aren't able to get that, so there's PayPal. But also, I mean, do you have a Subscribestar? Because I know on Subscribestar you're able to send one-time donations, not just pledges, but you can do like GoFundMe like donations, and they take a very small amount.
That's a good point. I do have a Subscribestar. It's subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. I believe you can contribute through BitChute as well, pledge contributions. You can contribute through float.app /DanDixPFT, Bitcoin. You can contribute Bitcoin in that way. So yeah, there are other ways of doing this, and maybe, you know, this is a good time to educate people about these kind of smaller companies that are doing this for people like us who are not going to be engaged in this censorship campaign and this financial terrorism. So I'm currently looking into these kind of smaller companies that are not going to censor us like GoFundMe has. And I'll be posting about that soon. But yeah, you know, for now, I mean, the kicker, Josh, is last night I went out and purchased the replacement GoPro and the clip that had gotten broken. Obviously just spending my own money out of my own account. And this morning I figured, okay, well, I bought this last night. I'm going to go ahead and withdraw the funds from the GoFundMe so I can pay for it. And boom, I see that it went from 7K to 0. And guess what I just found out about right before this interview, Josh? They also pulled my other campaign, PFT demonetized. If I had $1 for every subscriber, we can make the MSM obsolete. Campaign I've been running ever since I've been demonetized. It is now also pulled from GoFundMe. So it looks like GoFundMe is just not allowing me to use their platforms anymore at all.
And we saw some evidence of this a few years ago. I remember they took down Lauren Southern. They took down a few people back in like 2017 or something like that. But I do want to point out that a lot of independent medias are basically, they're going to war with a lot of independent medias at GoFundMe. GoFundMe won't allow me to make any campaigns at all anymore. I can have my old campaign, which I started in 2015, which has 17 grand in it, which looks great, but it's been 5 years and it took away the date. So you can't see that it's been since 2015 now on the page either. You try to start a new one and they say you're restricted. You went against the community guidelines. They don't tell you how you've gone against the community guidelines. Yeah. And essentially, if I try to attach any other GoFundMe to any email address or my bank account itself, because they have that on record, they won't let me create a new one. If I want to travel somewhere, they won't let me create a new one. So that's a huge, this is what we were kind of getting into before, Dan, is this kind of worries me about the state of technocracy. A lot of us have been talking for a long time about the potential of, a global, centrally planned cashless society. And, you could use social credit, for example, in China as an example of, them being able to suppress people from making money, getting jobs, going on airplanes, all that kind of stuff. We see that with ID 2020, if they are successful in that, coming up soon. I mean, this concerns me that this is just that incremental step that in about 5 years from now, we're going to be looking back at this moment as a monumental step towards that global cashless system. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And I hope that people will look back at this time and realize that we were on the right side here, trying to, warn people about these things that have been coming and that have been coming for a long time. I've been talking about this for well over a decade, and we're now starting to see it happen right before our eyes. The cashless society, the cancel culture now coming into the world of economics and literally trying to financially sabotage people. This is something that I've had to experience at the hands of these lunatic leftists for quite some time. About a year ago, I had a sponsor at Press for Truth who contacted me and said, "Hey, Dan, people are contacting me saying we should no longer sponsor you because of some of the content that you publish on your channel." And they had to respond to these people and say, "We know what kind of content he publishes. We support his ideas and his viewpoints, and that's why we're sponsors of him." But they just informed me, there's people behind the scenes here trying to convince us to not sponsor you anymore because they say you're producing bad stuff. This is lunacy. And again, as I put out the challenge, this is all based on this accusation that I'm this racist white supremacist, I've constantly put out the challenge, please find anything I've ever done or ever said that would make you think that and provide it as evidence. And nobody has anything. And we're still leading to the point where GoFundMe is cutting me off, YouTube's deleting videos. I mean, based on what?
And then what's crazy, Dan, is that you're dealing with a whole bunch of people are attacking you that say they're anti-big corporation. Many of them are communists, yet they're supporting massive monopolized corporations, muzzling your speech, shutting you down, and doing whatever they can to bankrupt you. I mean, it's really, the hypocrisy reigns so high. And I mean, years ago, I remember you getting attacked by right-wingers for your stuff on police. And now for years, you've been getting attacked by left-wingers. You're getting attacked by both sides. That's a mark of someone that's doing a good job. But I want to finally just mention here, again, for those that somehow haven't seen Dan's work before or have been seeing a lot of these attacks on Dan, that poster over your shoulder, Into the Fire, Dan put together one of the most monumental documentaries ever on police brutality, agent provocateurs, how they basically rig these massive riots and big, like at the G20 in Toronto, for example, as the movie goes into. And, most of the people that are attacking Dan right now were like 5 years old when that movie came out. They have no idea who he is. They're just getting told to hate someone because someone said something in a crowd. The mob mentality heats up. And it really blows me away because people that are on your side as far as, police violence, police brutality, perhaps agent provocateurs, the establishment has done such a good job of getting people so divided that in subsections of issues like police brutality, that those people would be infighting, that everyone's getting into the identity politics, attacking each other. And now, perfectly, everyone is distracted from the actual issue at hand. And now they're focused on you rather than the actual idea of the police, which they clapped for when they arrested you. I mean, what do you think about the divisiveness of all this? Like the divide and conquer that we're witnessing here when they go after you?
Well, yeah, that's what we saw was that culminate to a very scary point in the the event that transpired over the weekend. You know, when these people surrounded me like that, and if you only could have seen the hate in their eyes, like they wanted my blood. They were, you know, ready to kill me essentially. And yeah, but that's because they're all sold on the lie that this is all a racial issue. You know, as instead of being black versus white, they need to understand it as citizen versus the state, as individual versus the government. But they have been divided and don't see it that way. And that's the information that I'm always trying to bring to the table, is that, look, I'm against racism. I'm against fascism. You know, I'm against police brutality. We're all looking for the same things here. Who cares about the color of our skin? I certainly don't. I mean, these people need to really realize that and lighten up themselves in that regards and start to focus at the real problem. If you want to really hack at the root of the problem, we got to look to the authoritarian regimes. We got to look to the governments. We got to look to the private banksters who are lending money at interest printed out of thin air. That's who the real enemy is, not the white man, not Dan Tick's Press for Truth. It's the international banksters who have looted and robbed from us for centuries. So I really hope people can begin to understand that moving forward, that guys like us are not the enemy. We got to start focusing on the real problem and hack at the real root, and that's the international banksters.
Absolutely agree. Well, I appreciate you joining us again. I want everyone that's watching to make sure to go to pressfortruth.ca. There's many ways that you can donate to Dan. I know a lot of you watching did donate to Dan and got refunds today. A lot of you might not check your email, might not see the notification. So I think it's important that this video is shared. You hit that like button, you get it. I'll get around the shadow banning that we deal with here on YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube. More notably, go join on BitChute and Flote. Won't be around much longer. I want to make a final message that I just figured I'd throw in here because I found out today. I have gotten emails from YouTube and Facebook that I'm like moments away from getting my account suspended for a week on YouTube and completely deleted on Facebook. They told me this in the same day. So there's obviously some kind of coordination. So I want you guys to all follow all of us independent medias on these other platforms, because there's a good chance I might just disappear at some point this week and I won't be able to tell any of you. So I want to tell you guys now. So anyway, I appreciate you joining us, Dan. Those links are below. Check those links below and help out independent media as we fight against this insanity, because history will look upon this as a really dark period in history, but a period nonetheless where we have an opportunity to really grow as a human race. Break free from the stigma of racial divide and focus on the enemy that we all have in common. That is evil. It's good versus evil at the end of the day. That's what it's all about. Anyway, really appreciate you joining us, Dan. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson with Dan Dix signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Like what you see here, don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, subscribe star. We really can't do it without you. We've been so insanely shadow banned, about 90% at this point, and 95% demonetized. As Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, comes in and says that she is shutting down quote-unquote controversial content and cutting out the views on this controversial content by 70%. She's been bragging about it. We need your help more than ever in this battle for truth in information. You guys are what keeps us alive, so we really appreciate just even $1 a month makes a huge difference. If everyone could give just $1 a month, we wouldn't even have to worry about competing against the mainstream propaganda networks.
You can also donate to our Bitcoin address on the screen for you to scan if you please, as well as in the comments and description.
Liking and sharing makes a big difference as well, and finding us on alternative social media platforms like flote.app, that's flote.app, makes a huge difference. We're at Josh Sigurdson as well as at Wham. Flote is replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon all in one with encrypted private messaging, and of course monetization on videos for creators, live streams with super chats in crypto, and most of all, no algorithm, because at the end of the day, it's all about reach, guys. This is all about actually reaching people with the message and waking up the public. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Minds, BitChute, all sorts of different platforms. Try to follow us on as many things as possible, because very soon this channel will very likely just be completely deleted from YouTube, and you'll never see us again, and you'll be stuck with only the mainstream networks. Also, come on out and see us at Anarcho Vegas 2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada in July, where such speakers such as G. Edward Griffin and many others will be speaking. You could use promo code WHAM on your VIP tickets and save 10%, as well as buy extremely cheap tickets for just $20.20. You won't find a cheaper conference than this with such amazing names. Check anarchovegas.com for more information on that. We hope to see you out there. And anyway, I really appreciate all of you guys joining us. You make it possible for us to survive in this volatile, propagandized climate. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.